This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association. Your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Riley Smith.
Good day and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Today is Thursday, March 7th of 2024. We're so glad you can join us for today's show. In today's episode, I have coverage of last week's Senate Ag Committee hearing where Senator Ernst was able to ask a few questions to Ag Secretary Tom Vilsack. We also have a check of the markets, and we will go ahead and see how those markets close at the end of the day.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
At the end of another trading day in the ag marketplace, we're here with Kaden Sweeney of agmarket.net. First off, Kaden, how did those grain markets close today?
Yeah, really strong day today in the grains finally. We've been waiting a long time for it. We've had a little bit of relief here the last week or two. Today, I think, was the first day you really saw some strong confirmation as we got corn through the 20-day moving average for the first time in months. It kind of felt like that was what was holding the market down. We finally broke through that last night, saw some buying follow through. So front month corn going to close up about 9 cents today. Beans up around 18 as well. So certainly a good day. I think it's hopefully a sign of more things to come here in the next month or so.
And have we been seeing positioning just ahead of tomorrow's WASDE report?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think when you kind of couple up, like I said, the 20-day moving average getting breached, along with, obviously how short the funds were ahead of a WASDE report, I think that's kind of a trip signal. They're getting stopped out or at least taking profit on all the positions that they've had on the short side ahead of that report. So, if you're long or a producer, it's kind of a perfect storm finally of a reason to get the thing going back up again. As you mentioned with tomorrow's report, remains to be seen what comes of that. I think it's going to be fairly quiet, but we'll take any reason that the funds give us for them to buy back a little bit.
And then, we also saw overnight, seemed unexpected, the flash cancellation of wheat sales from China. Now, was that kind of we kind of anticipated them to balance out on something, or was that really just kind of out of the blue?
That caught the market by surprise yesterday. Wheat was down 20-some cents yesterday. I think, even with all the strength in corn and beans today, we were down 2 again on the wheat market. So that caught the market by surprise for sure. Kind of rumor of it came yesterday. That's why you saw such a weak market then confirmed today on the wire. So, wheat definitely looks like a sick market right now, making new lows, obviously, and then the lack of demand, not a good thing. Kind of diverting from what corn and beans are doing right now.
And then on the livestock side of things, how have those markets kind of fared towards the end of this day?
Yeah, cattle stronger today. Looks like fat cattle up $1.32, feeders up 40 cents or so, 42 cents. So, cattle market to me still remains somewhat bullish, especially over the long term. We had kind of sold off for a week or so there. It seems like we found our footing and kind of finding support there. That 20-day moving average, and it seems like that's all I'm talking about. But it's been really important lately, especially from a fund position. They watched that one pretty close. On the other side of the market, the hogs, they're going to close down 48 cents or so. They're hanging on to that 20-day, but, we're certainly down about $3 this week from the highs. If we do break that 20-day, I think there's going to be some continued selling follow through there. So from a hog producer standpoint, I think you want to be buying puts here at this 85 April level at that 20-day. Hope it holds, but if it doesn't, you want to have some sort of protection in place.
Then, of course, with that WASDE report tomorrow, we're thinking on the grain side of things. Livestock really going to see much impact from that potentially, or are they just kind of focused on that potential, influx of demand that we could see from an earlier spring season?
Yeah, I don't think, in my opinion, WASDE report overall is going to be fairly quiet. I think on the grain side, you're going to see maybe some corn exports improve, bean exports maybe go the other way a little bit. But that's kind of where the eye of the market's going to be, maybe corn yield a little bit. But livestock side, I think, is going to be pretty quiet as well. I really don't see anything too newsworthy coming out of it. And with, the planted acres and quarterly stocks report coming here at the end of the month, I think the market with a fairly reasonable report here is going to shake this one off pretty quick, go back to trading technicals, if you will, and have their eyes on that acreage report, because that a lot of times will overshadow this March WASDE that we have tomorrow.
All right, Kaden, lots of great information today. For those of our listeners and our viewers who would like to get in touch and learn more from the folks at agmarket.net, how can they do that?
Yeah, just go to our website, agmarket.net. You can reach anyone from our team there. We've got a new version of the app coming out soon that we use a lot. It's going to be launching about a month from now. You can get on the list to get that when it releases. It's going to be a pretty big deal for us. So agmarket.net, you can get all you need from there.
All right, great market analysis as always, Kaden, and we look forward to catching up again soon.
Hey, I appreciate it, Riley. Thanks for having me.
All right. That again was Kaden Sweeney of agmarket.net. We'll take a look at how those numbers closed through the market window at iowaagnet.com.
May corn up 9 1/4 at 4.38 even. May soybeans up 18 even at 11.66 1/4. May soybean meal up 4 even at 3.34.40. May soybean oil up 103 at 46.35. Chicago wheat down 2.5 at 5.28 1/2. Kansas City hard red wheat up 18 1/2 at 5.74 3/4. Minneapolis spring wheat up 9 1/2 at 6.54 3/4. May oats up 2 1/4 at 3.58 3/4. On the Merc, April live cattle up 147 at 188.72. March feeders went unchanged at 251.02. April lean hogs down 47 at 84.52. April pork cutout down 42 at 92 even. And March class 3 milk up 4 cents at 16.57.
And that's been a check of the markets here on Ag Matters PM. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. When we come back, I have the latest Iowa Ag News headlines. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Time now to take a look at the latest Iowa Ag News headlines. First off, in a Senate Ag Committee hearing last week, Iowa Senator Joni Ernst had the chance to question Ag Secretary Tom Vilsack about accountability in the USDA. Up first here, we have a clip from the hearing when Senator Ernst was able to ask her questions.
So, Secretary Vilsack, before I dig into some of those ag-specific questions, I'd like to address some of the work policies at the Department of Agriculture. We're just weeks away from the 4-year anniversary of federal buildings being temporarily closed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And as you know, GAO says that your headquarters has a space utilization rate of just 11%. It has gotten so bad that one of your employees went so far as to write me an anonymous letter that I do have with me today, Madam Chair, and I would like to submit that to the record, please.
So ordered without objection.
And let me read to you just a few sentences, and I quote, "The vast majority of USDA employees are not working in person. On the occasions I have gone to USDA headquarters in Washington, D.C., it resembles a ghost town." Your employee then goes on to say, "Remote work and telework employees are often unreachable and do not respond to simple email questions for hours." So with that, Mr. Secretary, knowing your own staff is recognizing issues with the policies that are currently put into place, how many days per week do you require your DC-based managers and employees covered by collective bargaining agreements to be physically in the office?
A majority of the week.
Okay, and what would that majority of the week be?
For some, it's 3 days, and for some, it's 4 days.
Okay, and yet the occupancy is 11%.
No, it's not,
according
Senator.
to.
Senator, that is not correct.
Okay.
That is not correct. That's not even close to correct.
Well, that's from the Government Accountability
Well,
Office.
I don't know what the date is of that or the date of the letter that you just referred to, but I can tell you that is not what's happening in February of 2024.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Other than supervisor oversight, what does the USDA do to monitor those federal employees that are working remotely to make sure that they are actually working?
Well, first of all, to suggest that they're not working, I think is an affront to the hardworking members of the USDA family. I can show you chapter and verse of all the work that's getting done at USDA. I can tell you how many home loans, how many farm loans, how many NRCS contracts have been entered, and I can guarantee you, compared to other administrations, this team is working their tail off, okay? So please don't tell me the work's not getting done, because I can show you that it is.
Well, and we'll take that up, because we do receive calls at the office where our constituents are having trouble with USDA. So we'll continue to forward those questions on to you. Federal employees' official work site that defines their location-based pay requires them to show up to the office at least once a week, but this standard is waivable on an employee-by-employee basis. Do you know how many exceptions to the standard twice in a pay period standard has the USDA issued since the pandemic, and has the agency revoked any of these exemptions?
I don't know the specific answer to that, but I can tell you that 82% of hours nationally are worked in person in offices.
Okay, 82%?
82%.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Our own Dustin Huffman then had the chance for a follow-up interview with Senator Ernst to get more details.
I wrapped up as well, talking about a report that came out not too long ago from the Government Accountability Office. Now, they went through all of the departments in our federal government, and what they discovered is that in the 4 years following COVID-19, the pandemic, we have not seen federal employees return to their workspaces. So in particular with USDA, and mind you, it was shut down temporarily during COVID-19. We are 4 years post-pandemic now, and the USDA is one of the worst offenders. Only 11% of their office space is currently utilized on a daily basis. Now, the secretary really pushed back on that. He made the insinuation that I don't think his employees are working hard. That's not at all accurate. It was a way for him to deflect what an independent agency of the federal government has discovered, is that only 11%, and this is a recent report, only 11% of the USDA physical office space is being utilized on a daily basis. So I understand that there are ways to telework, but we also had an anonymous letter that came from a USDA employee that basically stated on a daily basis, there are calls that are not being returned. Collaboration is not happening in the workplace. So there are a lot of things that are falling by the wayside at USDA because employees are not working together. So it's a mission of mine, whether you're teleworking or not. If we are not going to utilize federal government space, we need to get rid of that space. We pay a lot of taxpayer dollars, making sure that we pay the maintenance, we keep up utilities, all of that in spaces that are not being used. And so we have a lot of work to do on this. But again, the secretary was really perturbed that I brought that up. But I think it's important that not only we make sure that our farmers are getting the responses they need through USDA, but that all of our taxpayers, whether you are a farmer or not, your taxpayer dollars are being protected, and we either utilize the space or we get rid of it.
That again was Iowa Senator Joni Ernst. In other news, the classic American meal of meat, potatoes, and vegetables was fused with Japanese ingredients to win over judges at this year's Student Taste Competition, hosted by the Iowa Pork Producers Association on Monday. For the annual contest, culinary students were challenged to create their tastiest entree utilizing boneless pork loin. 8 teams from 4 Iowa colleges and universities had 2 hours in the kitchen to prepare their recipes. Teams consisted of 2 to 4 students, and their entrees were judged on taste, appearance, complementing side dishes, and design. The event took place at the Iowa Culinary Institute on the Des Moines Area Community College campus in Ankeny. The first place team from Iowa State University in Ames was Culinary Scientist, a play on ISU's Cy the Cardinal mascot. Members included senior Christabel Forney of Ames, senior Evelyn Greenberry of Arlington Heights, Illinois, junior Isabel James of Mason City, and senior Julian Sinkler from Queens. Slices of pork glazed with red wine and miso were served alongside shaved Brussels sprouts, seasoned with togarashi or chili pepper, and potato mochi, a potato patty with a crispy shell, chewy center, and sweet and savory sauce. Each member of the winning team was awarded $100 from IPPA. In addition, ISU's Culinary Food Science program received $750 for scholarships or educational supplies. That's all we have for news headlines today, and that also brings us to the end of this episode of Ag Matters PM. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. Also follow us on social media at Facebook, LinkedIn, X, and TikTok, and find our video content as well as previous episodes of AM PM on our YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell to see when those videos go live. Don't forget as well to check out our free Twice Daily Market podcast on Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Riley Smith. On behalf of Mark Magnuson, Dustin Huffman, and Andy Peterson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.